Hey, thanks again for joining me on another episode of the Dead Pixel Show. This should be Dead Pixel Show episode number 4, the big 4, which is amazing. We got through 4 weeks of this. For those of you who are new, have not watched any of my previous ones, I'm going to go over some video game news. For those of you who know that what I'm doing, you can sit down and enjoy this. You already know where we're going. So let's get into some news today. Alright, first up on the plate, we're going to talk a little about the Xbox One. Now, we're going to talk about Phil Spencer and related to the Xbox One, because recently in one of his interviews at the South by Southwest this year, he's admitted that their handling of the press in 2013 dealing with the Xbox One left a lot to be desired. Basically, the summary came across with the sense that they did not properly interface with customers of how the Xbox One was going to be dealt with. They felt like they were sugar-coated too much of it, when it would have been better if Microsoft had just sat down and been very honest and straightforward with everybody, so they could have the back and forth, so they could say, hey, we're going to do this, and the customers could go, well, we prefer you do this, blah, 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 and they could have worked, more straightforward. Everybody would have comprehended what they were trying to do. So at one point with the Xbox One, you had to be online if you wanted to play a game. You would always have to be online, regardless if it was multiplayer or not, regardless if you needed updates or not. You would have to be online to use Xbox One to play video games. That was one of the things that came out that everybody heavily criticized. Everybody's mad about it, and to exaggerate the point of how poorly this was handled, how poorly Microsoft dealt with customers, dealt with the media, dealt with trying to explain what they were doing. I believe it was Game Trailers had an interview with an executive and said, what about people that can't get online or have, very bad internet connections? Especially here in America, there's not great internet everywhere. It's a huge country, so there's a lot of space. And so there's people that are very far out in the country, out in the boondocks, that don't have great internet. They just don't. Everybody's living in a city. So if they're trying to play the Xbox One and they just don't have access to good online, how are they going to play? And his response was, they could buy an Xbox 360. Very bad handling of the situation. I want to say they sugarcoated that. I would say that was an incredibly stupid thing to say, because you're going up in the next console, the next generation. You're coming out of the console wars, as they always say, and you just said, hey, go a generation back. Go play our old console, because that'll work. Our new one, you're not going to be able to. That's a way to lose money. That's how you can get kicked out of the console war. That's how you lose. So, I appreciate that Phil Spencer is coming out saying we handled this poorly, we could have handled it better here or there. But I also kind of feel like he might just be saying that to make people happy now. I don't know him personally, obviously. I don't know everything about how sincere the interview felt like to everybody, but hopefully they've learned from last year. Hopefully they learned to just be more honest and just explain things and be straightforward with people, and so they can get the back and forth, so they can explain their point of view before everybody gets insanely wild up and ready to go rally against them, because you don't want that happening to your company. If your consumers are coming with a bunch of hatred ready to rip your product apart, you've done something wrong. Also in the news this week is Watch Dogs. Now, if you don't know anything about Watch Dogs, it's a game that looks awesome. I really want to play it. Very exciting game. It was originally going to come out around Christmas time of 2013. However, it's been delayed in order to make everything, work correctly. They're in the news recently because one of their creative directors is talking about how long the game will take. And he said on average it's going to take 35 to 40 hours if you're playing just the core game, if you're just doing the main story and only working on that. However, if you do all the side quests, you get about 100 hours out of it. That is exciting to me because I like a good game that can vary in length, because sometimes I'll play a game and I don't care at all about a side quest. One of the side quests I just don't care, but I like to have the option to it. I'm sure there's plenty of developers and people out there that they're like, hey, we did a giant side quest, a great one, and you just skipped it. Why do we waste our time? I want the ability to use it if I want to. So I'm happy that there's such a variation of length, that if you want to just focus and just get through the game, you can sit down and power through it. But if you want to sit down and just explore probably what's going to be a very vast and rich world, you can also sit down and explore that. I believe it takes place all in Chicago. From everything I see, it looks like it's all supposed to be Chicago, but it's possible that it's also outside of that city. I don't know. I live very close to Chicago, actually, so I'm excited to see how well they've done the city. hopefully it's very well done. I would very much like to see a great rendered out Chicago that I can drive around in. Don't know if I can drive around GTA style and just murder everybody around me without really much, consequences other than a star here or there. Or if it's going to be more like a Sleeping Dogs or LA Noire where you're not supposed to be doing that as much. So we'll see. But again, exciting to hear that they have a length of hours that vary so much in the sense that you could, really power through it, or you could sit down and just enjoy so much extra stuff, however you want to play. Okay, also in the news, and surprisingly enough, not because a bunch of sales are doing, Steam's in the news, but this relates to their hardware and not their great game deals that always seem to suck a lot of my money away, especially in the winter and summertime. They're just like, hey, we took all these games, bundled them together, give us $150. And I'm like, okay, Steam. And I just, kind of end up throwing my money at them. What is going to go over is we're going to talk about their new controller. Now, for those of you that don't know at all about this, Steam's kind of getting into the console war, if you want to say, to the console business at least, with their Steam boxes, and there'll be different boxes. You can get lower end models, higher end models. It's basically kind of like buying a gaming rig and just having it set up for Steam, and they're going to have their own Steam OS and everything running it. Obviously, their controller, they're designing a controller. And if you haven't seen it originally, it's very different. Instead of any joysticks or anything, they have these touch pads that I would describe like if you took a PS4 and you took where the joysticks on the bottom and moved them up where all the buttons are. It's like that. Now it's not shaped all that similarly, but if you wanted to know where these weird kind of touchpad things are, that's where they are. Anyways, so the one thing they had, there was touch screens they were going to do. It looks like they've taken that out and actually put in actual buttons, and it looks like it's similar in the style of the 360, which is a very beloved controller. Many people have agreed to say that's a pretty good controller. Is it the greatest ever? It's always debatable. But nonetheless, anyways, it looks like or Valve, they've just ripped out this touch screen, and they've put in these, hard buttons, which I'm going to be honest, I'm in favor for. I don't know. These touchscreens, it looked weird. I've seen mixed reviews on it. Some people enjoyed it, some people didn't. But with the buttons, you can get easier backwards compatible, and that's something they're going to have to do. If you're going to be new onto the market and you want people to jump over, you need to give them something that they're kind of used to, especially with something so vastly different in the sense there's no joy pads. They're gone. The thumbsticks are gone. It's these touch pads, which is probably going to be killer. It's probably going to be way better, but if you're just not used to it, it's hard to grasp. Look, for example, with the Windows 7 to Windows 8. Windows 8 probably is a better way to function a lot of things, but people aren't used to it. I have problems. I got a new laptop, and when I got the new laptop, it came with the Windows 8. And I mean, I've struggled with an operating system. I'm like, where's my start menu? Or, where's my Windows bar? Where is everything? I'm like, why do I have to go to this Metro screen and everything? And you can obviously end up customizing things. And I made it look pretty much a lot like Windows 7. I just couldn't grasp Windows 8. So in this sense, if you give people this controller and everything's just different, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work well that way. You have to give them something they can grasp onto that they already know. And if everybody already understands, the A, B, X, Y buttons, you got them. They're always the same layout, and you always hit it the same way. That's a good way to branch it over then. So I think it's a smart decision by Valve to do these, Steam consoles and do these controllers now with the redesign that look much more similar to the, controllers you've already dealt with. Obviously, you don't want to be an exact copy of somebody, but you want something that somebody can, move over from. So I think that's a good call by them. Okay, so that was some video game news. I kind of just wanted to touch up on a couple things. Those were the things that kind of jumped out at me first and strongest, and thought everybody would enjoy to hear a little bit about. So hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. If you can like, subscribe, comment, all those good and great things, I very, very much do appreciate it. Thank you again for watching. It's always a great thing when I see, the views go up, even if it goes from, 5 to 6. That's actually is pretty cool to me. I like seeing every little view I get. I like getting every bit of feedback I can. So if you want to drop me a line, please feel free to. I will more than likely respond, and I would like to have conversations with people. I enjoy it. So again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, guys, take it easy.